Today's notes are from section 8.2, which is titled Multiplying and Factoring. So we're going to start multiplying polynomials as well as factoring them. A couple things we need to review first. The first is the distributive property. The distributive property says if I have something out in front of a binomial, so if I have x times the quantity a plus b, what we can do is multiply x times a, and then x times b, and add those two things together. Again, that's the distributive property. You've seen it before. If I have something out in front of a binomial or even a trinomial, if it's x times a plus b plus c, we could do x times a plus x times b plus x times c. Or if there's four terms, we could distribute it to each. So if I have a monomial times something else, we're going to take that monomial and multiply it by each of the other terms. The other thing we need to review is one of the properties of exponents. It says x to the a times x to the b is equal to, we covered this in the last chapter, if I have like x to the second times x to the fifth, what do I do with the exponents there? Hopefully we remember that we add them, is equal to x to the a plus b. So in this case, it would be x to the 2 plus 5, which is 7. So a couple of review things there that are necessary in order to succeed in this section. First, again, is the distributive property. Second one is one of the properties of exponents we covered last chapter. Example 1 asks us to simplify each of the following. These are review of what we just covered. Part A, I am multiplying two things. I have 5x to the 4th times 3x to the 9th. 5x to the 4th times 3x to the 9th. So we're going to do 5 times 3 is 15, and x to the 4th times x to the 9th, when I multiply, I add up exponents. 15 x to the 13th is correct for part A. That is using that property of exponents we just talked about. When I multiply, I add the exponents. Part B says -4 times the quantity 3x squared minus 5. -4 times the quantity 3x squared minus 5. So I have a monomial, just one term out front, and I'm multiplying it by a quantity, something in parentheses here. To do that, we use the distributive property. We are going to take -4 and multiply it by 3x squared. -4 times 3 is -12 x squared. I didn't have anything to multiply that x squared by. And then I'm doing -4 times -5. Negative times negative is positive. 4 times 5 is 20. -12x squared plus 20. Example 2, you are going to do these two on your own. I want you to pause the video. Once everybody has them, you can play it and you'll see the solution. So example 2, we're again asked to simplify part A, 2x to the 6th times 7x to the 11th. We're doing 2 times 7, which is 14. X to the 6th times x to the 11th. When I multiply, I add up our exponents. 14x to the 17th is correct. Part B, we're distributing. I have 6 times 2x squared. 6 times 2 is 12. I'm sorry, 6 times 2x cubed. 6 times 2 is 12, x cubed. And 6 times -2x. Positive times negative is negative. 6 times 2 is 12. And I've got that x. So again, all of that so far is review of things we've already done. Example 3 is new material. Example 3 asks us to multiply and write as a polynomial. Multiply and write as a polynomial. Part A, we have 4x squared times the quantity 3x to the fourth minus 2x. 4x squared, parentheses, 3x to the fourth minus 2x. I've got something, in this case, not just a number like I did on the last two, but something out in front of a parentheses. When that's the case, we distribute. Same thing we did on part B of examples 1 and 2. So I'm going to take 4x squared and I'm going to multiply it by this. And then I'm going to take 4x squared and multiply it by this. So 4x squared times 3x to the fourth. 4 times 3 is 12. X squared times x to the fourth. When I'm multiplying, when we multiply, we add up the exponents. So when we multiply x squared times x to the fourth, we add the exponents. 2 plus 4 is 6. So that was this times that. Now I need to multiply 4x squared times negative 2x. 4x squared times negative 2x. 4 times negative 2 is minus 8. X squared times x. X squared times x to the first. When I multiply, I add the exponents. 2 plus 1 is 3. 12x to the sixth minus 8x to the third. Part B, similar problem. 6x times the quantity 3x minus 5. 6x times the quantity 3x minus 5. Again, a monomial, one term, out in front of a parenthesis. We are going to distribute it. 6x times 3x. 6 times 3 is 18. X times x, x to the first times x to the first. I add the exponents when I'm multiplying, gives me x to the second, 18x squared. 6x times negative 5. 6 times negative 5 is minus 30, and I have x when I multiply it. And there's our answer. 18x squared minus 30x. Example 4, similar problem. We are asked to multiply and write as a polynomial. Negative x to the sixth times the quantity 4x to the ninth minus 7x to the second plus 5x. Negative x to the sixth times the quantity 4x to the ninth minus 7x to the second plus 5x. So we're distributing. Negative times positive is minus. 1 times 4 is 4. X to the 6th times x to the 9th. We add the exponents. 6 plus 9 is 15. And then I'm going to take negative x to the 6th and multiply it by the middle one. Negative x to the 6th times negative 7x squared. Negative times negative is positive. 1 times 7 is 7. X to the 6th times x to the second. Those are exponents with the same base. They're both x's. We add the exponents. 6 plus 2. And this one's got this third term here. We have a monomial times a trinomial. So we need to distribute this to the last term as well. Negative times positive is minus. 1 times 5. X to the 6th times x. Remember, the exponent here is understood to be a 1, and we add the exponents, x to the 7th. Part B, last one like this, and then we will try something a little bit different. We've got 2x to the second times 4x squared minus 3. 2x squared times 4x squared minus 3. Again, we're distributing. 2 times 4 is 8. x squared times x squared. We add the exponents is x to the fourth. 2x squared times minus 3. Positive times negative. 2 times 3. X squared. I don't have any x's to combine that with, so we just leave it as x squared. So the first type of problems that we're dealing with is distributing a monomial. We do need to be careful when I'm multiplying that we need to add the exponents. The second thing we're doing is actually the reverse of this. We are going to be factoring. The word factor means to write it as things that multiply to what's given. So like factors of 8, I could do 2 times 4. 2 and 4 are factors of 8 because they multiply to 8. So what we're going to do here is we're going to be given something like this, and we are going to be trying to write it as things that multiply to that. Notice these two things, 2x squared and 4x squared minus 3, multiplied to give me this. So we're kind of going to be going backwards here. So this tells us to factor out the greatest common factor. Factor out the greatest common factor. So we're going to start with the coefficients. 8 and 14. You want to think about what is the biggest number that I can divide those both by. 14 is 2 times 7. 8 is 1 times 8 or 2 times 4. The only thing they have in common, the only factor they have in common is a 2. And when I've got x's in there, x to the 6th, x to the 2nd, the one you can take out is always the smaller of the one, of the two. So x to the 6th, x to the 2nd, the smaller one is x to the 2nd. So our greatest common factor, the thing I can take out of both of those, is a 2x squared. And then we actually want to take that out. So this is kind of like reverse distributing. 2 times what gives me 8? Well, we do that by doing 8 divided by 2. And x to the 6th divided by x to the 2nd. Now remember, when you divide, you subtract exponents. 6 minus 2 is 4. And we want to take a 2x squared out of this term also. So I've got minus 14 divided by 2 is 7. X to the 2nd divided by x to the 2nd is x to the 0. I don't have any x's left. And that is our answer. You can always pretty quickly check this by doing what we did on examples 3 and 4 and distribute. You don't have to, but 2 times 4 is 8. X squared times x to the 4th, I add my exponents and I get x to the 6th. 2x squared times negative 7, 2 times negative 7 is minus 14, x squared. Notice I get right back where I started. Part B. 9x to the 7th plus 6x. 9x to the 7th plus 6x. Remember, x is the same thing as x to the 1st, even if it's not written there. If it helps to draw it in, do it. 9 and 6, we want to think about the biggest thing I can divide those both by. I can divide them both by 3. And remember, for the variables, in this case x's, we can always take out the smallest of the x's. 7 or 1, the smallest one is the x to the 1st. We are going to factor that 3x to the 1st out of both of those terms. 9 divided by 3 is 3. X to the 7th divided by x to the 1st. When I divide, I am subtracting exponents. 7 minus 1 is 6. Plus 6 divided by 3 is 2. X to the 1st divided by x to the 1st. I subtract the exponents. 1 minus 1. I don't have any x's left there. And there's my answer. 3x times the quantity 3x to the 6th plus 2. Example 6 is the last one we're going to do together. Again, we are asked to factor out the greatest common factor. Part A, we have 12x squared minus 6x. 12 and 6. We could take 3 out of both of those. They're both divisible by 3, but there's a bigger one. 12 and 6. I can divide those both by 6. Remember, we're looking for the greatest common factor, so we want to take a 6 out. X to the second or x to the first. I can take the x to the first out. Remember, it's always the smaller of the exponents that you can take out. And we're going to divide by the thing we took out. 12 divided by 6 is 2. X to the second divided by x to the first. We subtract the exponents. 6 divided by 6 is 1. X to the first divided by x to the first. 1 minus 1. I don't have any x's left. And there's our answer. Part B is just a little bit different. 15x to the 6th minus 10. 15x to the 6th minus 10. Look at the coefficients, 15 and 10. I can divide those both by 5. Here I have 6 x's, x to the 6th. Here I don't have any x's. So 6 x's or no x's. The smaller one is no x's. There are no x's I can factor out of this because that minus 10 doesn't have any x's on it. All we can do is take out a 5. We're going to divide each term by 5. 15 divided by 5 is 3. I don't have anything to divide the x to the 6th by. We're just going to leave it. 10 divided by 5 is 2. Again, I want you to pause the video and I want you to try these. Once you think you have them all, once everybody has them all, you can go ahead, play the video, and see the solutions. Number 1, we are multiplying, so we're going to distribute. 4 times 3 is 12. X squared times x to the 6th, we add the exponents. We are distributing, so we're multiplying a positive times a negative. 4 times 2. And x to the second times x. And again, we are adding the exponents. 2 plus 1 gives me x to the third. Negative times positive is negative. 2 times 5 is 10. X to the first times x to the first. 1 plus 1 is x to the second. Negative times negative is positive. 2 times 7. X to the first times no x's is just x. That's a giant minus sign right there. Number 2 asks us to take out the greatest common factor. 3, 9, and 12. 3, 9, and 12. I can divide those all by 3. 5 x's, 2 x's, x to the second, or x to the 0. I don't have any x's here. So the fewest I can take out is the x to the 0. I don't have any x's to take out, so we're going to divide everything by 3. 3 divided by 3 is 1. X to the 5th, I didn't divide the x's by anything, plus 9 divided by 3, x to the second just comes down, minus 12 divided by 3. And part B, 12 and 18, the greatest common factor between those two things is 6. X to the 9th or x to the 3rd, the smallest exponent is the one I can take out. That's the x to the 3rd. And if I divide by that, 12 divided by 6 is 2. X to the 9th divided by x to the 3rd, we are subtracting exponents, gives me x to the 6th. Minus 18 divided by 6 is 3, and I had that x cubed. I took x cubed out. I'm not left with any x's on that last term. There is my answer.